Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master, and welcome to my channel. Now, I was intending to do this review before Zelda Twilight Princess came out in HD, but I didn't have time to really sit out in front of my editor and get this review done. For that, I apologize. But now that I got Zelda Twilight Princess done and reviewed, let's go back and look at The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. Now, I remember when I first got the original Wind Waker, clear back in 2003, it was one of the reasons I bought my GameCube. I saw the ad for it, plus I would get a free copy of Ocarina of Time, plus the Japanese-only Master Quest with it, and with the GameCube coming out with the Game Boy player, I knew I wanted one, and it was the right time to pick it up. I was so happy that I pre-ordered it online and actually got it a day early. Unlike nowadays, where the online connectivity of the consoles makes sure that you can't play a game early, back then Nintendo had no idea I was playing this a day before it was supposed to launch. Anyways, back in the day, the Wind Waker was hated for its art style. Nowadays, ironically, it's kind of loved because of the same art style. It does have a timeless look to it. And for the most part, that's right, but the Wind Waker has many flaws to it as well, and I'm talking about it in its gameplay. And I should mention there will be some spoilers in this review. Nintendo released this HD update in 2013, kind of lauding it as its killer app for the struggling Wii U in 2013. I remember going, Nintendo, HD remakes aren't anything new at this point. The PS3 was getting Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix that same year, and for $10 less than what Nintendo was charging for Zelda, I could own not one, but two Kingdom Hearts games and a bunch of crappy cutscenes. Needless to say, I wasn't too impressed, so I didn't really pick this game up at the time of its release. However, during the Mario Kart 8 launch, Nintendo gave this out free for anyone who purchased Mario Kart 8, and I got it then, and I'm reviewing it now. Alright, if I'm going to talk about the story of the Wind Waker, I should mention that this is the first Zelda game to really reference another one. And this time it really references Ocarina of Time, and it does so all over the place. And by doing that, it also kind of causes some confusion, but I'll get to that one later. Anyways, the game starts off with this kind of story narration about basically how a kingdom was happy using something called golden power. However, one day an evil man grabbed the gold power and used it to cause chaos. Then a time-traveling youth appeared out of nowhere using the Blade of Evil's Bane. He sealed the evil away. By the way, I love that reference. Either you have read the Link to the Past instruction booklet and you get the whole Blade of Evil's Bane thing, or you don't, but you probably already guessed what sword that is anyways. The time-traveling youth became known as the Hero of Time. Centuries passed, all was well, and then the ancient evil popped up again, and this time the kingdom was helpless. No one knows what happened to the kingdom after that, but on Outset Island, they raise their boys to believe in the legend, so they dress them up in the same green clothes the Hero of Time wore. It is Link's 10th birthday, so he gets to dress up like the hero. However, some pirates come to the island chasing after their kidnapped leader, who Link tries to help, only to have his sister get kidnapped by the same monster. It's up to Link to get the bottom of why people with pointy ears are being kidnapped on the islands. Along the way, he manages to find a talking boat who agrees to help him on his quest to find his sister. But as he travels to find the power he needs to stop this evil that is kidnapping people, he finds out that his sister's kidnapping and the story of the Lost Kingdom are tied together. If he has any hope of saving her, he will have to re-find that lost land, and it might be closer than he thinks. Anyways, the story for the most part is as good as you can get in the Zelda game. Mostly it's all text, but it does have its humor and its charm. One of my favorite parts come when you have to raise the Tower of the Gods. This huge tower that leads to Hyrule and is so massively huge you can see it pretty much anywhere on the seas after you have risen it. The scene gets the respect it deserves. You have a massive choir playing, you hear the earth rumbling, you see it coming up. But it also has a fair bit of humor, as when the tower starts to raise, Link gets thrown into the sky and then does a face plant right on top of the tower before falling down back into the sea. It's actually a pretty humorous scene, and pretty much a lot of scenes go that way. If it's serious and grand, there will be a little bit of a pratfall in there just to liven things up, and I do enjoy this game's story overall. Okay, if you haven't played a Legend of Zelda game, basically you're some boy or a young adult hero named Link, whose job is it to find dungeons and solve puzzles so he can collect magical MacGuffins needed to save the world. So how does the Wind Waker do with this formula? It's a bit of a mixed bag. Let's start off with the good and then move on to the bad. The game does start you off slowly. Well, not that slowly. Going through the first 3 dungeons or so in a really linear fashion, but after these dungeons the game just really opens itself up and there's a wide world to really explore. And as far as these dungeons go, they're really fantastically done. The Wind Waker does have some of my favorite dungeons in the series to explore, from the stealth sections of the Forsaken Fortress to the beautifully designed lava pits in the volcano dungeon, to the Tower of the Gods, which has this somewhat creepy lost technology feeling. They're all really beautifully done and designed in the way they look, and they have some really fun puzzles based around them. The only dungeon I really didn't like is the sports dungeon, where I have to use the leaf to blow things around, and it can get a little bit annoying trying to practice exactly where you have to use your leaf in order to blow things around and where you have to jump in order to float up. But that's like the only dungeon I really didn't enjoy. The last 2 dungeons require you to team up with a non-playable character. These are actually really fun, and I love this Earth dungeon, where I have to fly around with this bird girl, as well as use the reflect shields we both have to toss light beams around. It's probably my favorite dungeon in the entire series. As for combat, it adds a lot to the Ocarina of Time formula. If you played Ocarina of Time, you're going to be right at home with locking on, jump slashing, vertical slashing, and spin attacking. The newest additions to combat is that if you time the button presses just right, you can run around to the side of an opponent and slash their armor off, or give them a big hit on the head. And in that, one of your newest items, the ropes, can hook on and steal items from enemies, and the combat is pretty fun. Even if Link has way too much health, it's really hard to die in this game. So what's the bad side of this game? Well, next to the whole way too much health thing, the worst part of the game has got to be the sailing. In order to sail, you have to first use the Wind Waker to set the wind in the right direction that you want to travel, and then it can take several minutes to get to the next island you want to do, with oftentimes being absolutely nothing to do unless you go out of your way to look for trouble. It's nothing but just this, just sailing and really doing nothing. You can go out and make yourself a sandwich, and chances are nothing will happen to Link, you won't get attacked, and you probably won't miss your island. It's really that tedious.
And my dear Sonny, Zelda games had a lot of action to them. Look at this, enemies in every screen, slashing, hacking. This looks boring.
Because it is, old fart. At least Assassin's Creed gave us sea shanties to listen to while we were sailing. Oh, what to do with a drunken hero? What to do with a drunken hero? What to do with a drunken hero? I have no clue, but he better get to the next freaking island before I blow my head off early in the morning. And unfortunately, this is pretty much what your overworld consists of. Nothing but sailing on the sea and engaging in an occasional fight. I would have taken fewer islands that were bigger and actually had something for me to explore, rather than a bunch of sea with nothing to do, because that's what this game provides, unfortunately. Now, to be fair, this version does change a few things. First, you do get the speed sail, which always has the wind blowing behind you, and when you have it equipped, Link's boat takes off like a bat out of hell. Also, they mainstreamed the controls. You no longer have to equip things like the sail or the Wind Waker or the crane while using it. They're now mapped to the D-pad, and it makes the game so much more fun, so much quicker to access these things, and it just feels more natural and nice. Overall, I do appreciate a lot of these changes. Unfortunately, you still can't escape the tedium of sailing. Now, one of the things they did change from the original game is the triforce hunt at the end of the game. This is done so much quicker now, and it's a blessing. Now, in the original game, you had to go out and find the 8 pieces of the triforce, which were hidden on the bottom of the floor, which meant you had to go and sail all over the place. Here, it's done a lot easier. They skip the whole Triforce charts thing, and you just do one mini quest to pick up the Triforce, rather than getting the chart with the mini quest and then going to Tingle so he can give you the location to the Triforce. This part is such a pain in the butt that it seems to change in every version of the game. The original Japanese GameCube version had a Triforce quest that was twice as long as the American version, and they keep cutting it off. Why? Because it's a tedious part of the game. Now, when it comes to the graphics, what stands out about the Wind Waker the most? The cel-shaded visuals. Now, back in the day, Nintendo assured us the graphics of the Wind Waker would not age. That's before people saw high-definition TVs coming into full force. That said, with a little HD updating, it's hard to tell a cel-shaded game from their newer counterparts. But Nintendo went the extra mile. They rounded out some of the character models and designs and spiffed up a lot of the side areas. The whole thing looks nice, even better than some of the modern days. And I mean beautiful that the areas of the Great Sea just look like a giant illustration. The only game that I can think of that can match and even surpass this look is Capcom's Okami, and the HD upgrades really make it clear, crisp, and beautiful. Just take a look at these side shots from the end of the game. One is from the GameCube with component cables, and the other is the HD version. Nintendo not only upgraded the looks of the characters, but again, you can see they went the extra mile by putting in the detail of Hyrule from beyond this waterfall, and it just looks really beautiful as you face off against Ganon. The only thing I don't like about this game is the character models. I never really did like this version of Link, and I know he's now kind of younger, he's a kid, but this character design is way too cute to take on something like Ganon. There is no way a kid like this could ever beat Ganon. Damn! Ganon, do you need any type of aspirin or anything? Because it looks like you just got one hell of a splitting headache. Yeah, the finishing move is kinda cool, but the rest of the game is just a little bit overly cutesy for my taste. I like the illustrated look, but I wish the character designs were just a little bit more proportioned and realistic. I never really liked the chibi-eyed look, but that is just my personal preference speaking here. As for the sound, I have been playing some of the music in the background throughout this review, and as you can see, it is amazing. The game now has this cartoony, Irish, and upbeat soundtrack when it needs to be, but when the scenes get dark, so does the music track. It's an absolutely fabulous soundtrack. Like most Zelda games, though, there's no real voice acting, just a few screams and grunts, and that's about it. If I was to give this game a numbered score, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. Now, the game is beautiful and the HD upgrades are great. It really keeps the charm in this GameCube classic. And when you do things like go back to Hyrule, it looks really, really beautiful. And the dungeons have some really interesting ideas and puzzles. But damn, is the sailing boring. And there's not much really to do while you're sailing. Each island has its mini puzzle and treasure to get out of it, but the most part they're skippable and forgettable. I would have taken less islands that were bigger and had much more to explore over a whole bunch of mini ones which are pointless and require a whole bunch of sailing to get to. It's the whole nothing to do while sailing that really hits home that this is a substandard Zelda game. It's far from the worst in the series. That award goes to its DS sequel, but it's far from the best. Still, if you like Zelda games, you could definitely check this one out. The port of this game does a better job of updating it than the Twilight Princess HD port did. But I do believe Twilight Princess is a slightly better game. Why? Because fighting on the horseback is way better than just sailing around. Anyways, this is Tommy the Keyblade Master. I thank you for watching this video. If you want, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And I do things like reviews and editorials and stuff like this all the time, so feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you as a member of my community. Anyways, I am signing out.